जब देश में एक धाकड़ सरकार होती है तो दुश्मन भी कुछ करने से पहले 100 बार सोचता है।
पाक ऑक्यूपाई कश्मीर भारत का था, है और रहेगा। इस पर हमारे दावे को कोई हिला नहीं सकता।
बहन भाइयों, पीओके हमारा था, पीओके हमारा है, पीओके हमारा रहेगा। चिंता मत करो, भारत की ताकत बढ़ रही है।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की यहां पर वापसी, याद रखना, पाक अधिकृत कश्मीर भी फिर कश्मीर का ही पार्ट होने वाला है, जम्मू कश्मीर का ही भाग होने वाला है।
कि जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के पीएको को आप भारत का हिस्सा नहीं मानते हो क्या? एग्रेसिव ना हो, जान दे देंगे इसके लिए।
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take you back in time to 22nd October 1947. After clinching freedom from our colonial powers, India saw the dark era of partition. Within 2 months, the Pakistani army orchestrated the invasion of Kashmir Valley by the tribal militia with a fake propaganda of Muslims under attack. The Pakistan army code-named it as Operation Gulmarg. The Maharaja of Kashmir, Hari Singh, acceded to India and the Indian army fought off Pakistan. But our wily neighbor continued to unlawfully control 35% of the land. Over the decades, from ceasefire pacts to the Shimla Agreement, India has tried to resolve the illegal occupation of Kashmir, but Pakistan has always betrayed us. But today, Naya Bharat cannot be covered, coerced or denied this right that they have. You just heard Prime Minister Modi's declaration of a Dhakar Sarkar. You also heard Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, India's largest state, Yogi Adityanath roar, Pak occupied Kashmir hamara hai, PoK hamara hai, and we will take it back. Now, the External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar himself has read the Riot Act to Pakistan, returned the stolen part of Kashmir and resolved the issue. It all started with an oversmart Pakistani journalist who tried to put the seasoned minister and bureaucrat in a spot during a press interaction in London. He said, "Let me start by making you nervous." He then asked if Prime Minister Modi and Trump can resolve the Kashmir problem. The response, or rather the roast by Dr. Jaishankar, left the journalist red-faced and unmasked, the real face of Napak Pakistan. Watch this epic takedown.
Let me make you a little nervous. Can Narendra Modi use his friendship with Donald Trump to solve out the problem of Kashmir?
On Kashmir, actually we have done, I think, a good job solving most of it. I think removing Article 370 was one step, number one. Then restoring growth and economic activity and social justice in Kashmir was step number two. Holding elections, which were done with a very high turnout, was step number three. I think the path we are waiting for is the return of the stolen part of Kashmir, which is on the under illegal Pakistani occupation. When that's done, I assure you, Kashmir solved.
Both the nations, India and Pakistan, attained independence at the same time. Look where India is and look where Pakistan is. Pakistani army was found hiding Osama bin Laden in their own backyard. It faced multiple military coups and its former prime ministers are either exiled, executed or jailed. With its economy in the doldrums, Pakistan has been forced to admit bankruptcy amidst riots. Let's face it, Pakistan is broke beyond repair. No wonder the people imprisoned in PoK by the rogue army are crying out to Prime Minister Modi to save them from the atrocities of Pakistan. Watch how they demand Azadi.
Azadi! 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 Azadi!
ये पुलिस इंतजामिया ने हमारा घर सील कर दिया है, या हमें फिल फॉर हमारा घर खोलें और रिकॉर्ड की दुरुस्ती करें, अदरवाइज हमें हिंदुस्तान इंडिया से मदद करते हैं, हम मोदी से मदद तलब कर रहे हैं कि आओ और इनको सीधा करो, ये रकबे तुम्हारे हैं मोदी, ये सिखों के गैर मुस्लिमों के रकबे हैं, किसी के बाप के नहीं है, किसी की माँ को जहेज में नहीं मिले हुए, ठीक है, ना पुलिस के ना किसी और के, गैर मुस्लिमों के रकबे, गैर मुस्लिम आए। हम अपील करते हैं हिंदुस्तानी गवर्नमेंट से कि खुदारा नरेंद्र मोदी आओ और इस जुल्म से यहाँ निजात दिलाओ लोगों को।
So how is Pakistan responding to cries for Azadi? Watch the Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif's epic meltdown, which made him an object of global ridicule.
कि मैं तोड़ो एक वादा कर चले कि पाकिस्तान असी इंशाअल्लाह उस रब नूं मंजूर, रब सोने नूं मंजूर है, उस रब सोने नूं मंजूर होया तो इंशाअल्लाह मेहनत करांगे, रात दिन मेहनत करांगे, तो एक दिन आएगा कि हिंदुस्तान नूं पिछे न छोड़े। ते मेरा नाम शहबाज शरीफ नहीं है।
So ladies and gentlemen, the Motorola legitimate question that we're asking on the Newshour tonight. 78 years later, will Napak Pak free PoK? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining me tonight on the debate, Pradeep Bhandari, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow at the IPCS, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the ORF. Also joining me tonight is the real Kashmiri here, Sushil Pandit. On the other side, we have Raja Faisal, senior journalist from Pakistan, Faraz Saeed, journalist from Pakistan. But my first question goes to Kamar Chima, strategic and political analyst, joining me live from Pakistan. And Kamar Chima, is it time that Pakistan finally decides to give it honorably, the PoK that they have illegally occupied, instead of getting questions planted to the Indian minister in London? You know, you don't have to be roasted the way you have to. You can cut your losses and probably do the most honorable thing that's left to do. It's very clear people in PoK do not want Pakistan regime to go on there.
Thank you very much. I think this is the question you should ask the CDS, Army Chief, Air Chief, and the Naval Chief. And that's why, since they cannot answer this question, and they would definitely have told the Indian government, we cannot get the Kashmir while fighting. So that's where you are saying that, okay, you can give it peacefully. So remember, you cannot get anything peacefully. So your question tells your Army has told you, your Navy, your Air Force has told you, do not rely on us, only rely on the shallow slogans from the BJP, from Dr. Jaishankar, who used to be a good diplomat, by the way. Now he's turning to be a good boy for the BJP. The question is, I will also like to correct...
He's a good voice of the BJP. Thank you for the compliment, Kamar Chima. When he unmasked the very nasty questions from Pakistani journalists, and he's actually defanged that journalist in public, I'm so glad that you have, you have that much courtesy to admit that he's a great foreign minister that India has. And Pradeep Bhandari, chahe na chahe, ek Karan ki, they have to admit that it is their government in shambles there. India does a surgical strike when it wants to. It, puts bombs on Balakot when it wants to. It will take away PoK when it wants to.
Navika ji, we will decide the time, we will decide the place, and the PoK belongs to India and it will belong to India, and the presidents there are extended Indian citizens. But I'll tell you why Kamar China's state is this. You know, a donkey worth in Pakistan is 3 lakh rupees. You know, Pakistan today is exporting donkeys to China. This is what their nation today is known for. They are known for donkeys, they are known for beggars. They have put 4,200 beggars on no-fly list, and also they are known for terrorists. On the fact of this, Navika ji, just like we ensured that a surgical strike happened, just like we ensured that Pakistan is now de-hyphenated in the global affairs, it is only known for exporting terrorists. I assure you on your show that we will take back PoK. There is no two points about it. But the larger point here is, I'll tell you why they are worried. Because every person in PoK is seeing कि पाकिस्तान के साथ रह के तो ना बिजली मिल रही है, ना खाने को खाना मिल रहा है, ना शक्कर मिल रही है, ना आटा मिल रहा है. And on the other side, Jammu and Kashmir, you have record growth of 7%. So it is not our call only, it is the people there who are calling कि आजादी चाहिए पाकिस्तान से, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will make it happen.
Well, let me ask Raja Faisal. Raja Faisal, you know, the question by the Pakistani journalist in London, has it exposed the very, very weak and exposed flanks of Pakistan? People in Pakistan have no faith in their own government. Why is Pakistan not wanting to cut its losses and look after the Pakistan that is under its command rather than worrying about PoK? Number one. And why do you think, you want to somehow put India on the mat by asking the question, bhai Trump ke saath, will you solve the Kashmir problem? We don't need any external intervention as far as Pakistan and India are concerned. The Kashmir problem is solved, as Dr. Jaishankar pointed out. It's only PoK which we have to take back, which we will take back. Doesn't Pakistan get that message?
Navika, I'm thankful to you that you have highlighted this point. First of all, let me remind you that it wasn't Pakistan, it was actually India that actually went to United Nations back into 1948 to seek a resolution or to seek a resolve of Kashmir crisis at that time. And yes, at that time, of course, Resolution 47 was passed, and in which we saw that there were a couple of times, there were a couple of people who have been again and again giving a resolve to this crisis. One by General McNaughton, and the next one was Dixon. Both of them, again and again, highlighted the fact that Pakistan and India, both of them, they have to pull out their forces out from Kashmir, and people of Kashmir should be given a right to plebiscite so that they can decide for their own future. And this is what the resolve was. But let me remind you once more, it was India that kept on saying no to that. India wanted to maintain its military in obviously Kashmir at that time, because they believed that the only plebiscite would be acceptable to India that is being held under the supervision of Indian military that was actually present in there. When it comes to Azad Jammu and Kashmir, which you consider PoK, and I call it Azad Jammu Kashmir because it is in actual a free Kashmir, over there you would find their own government, you would find their own Supreme Court, you would find their own policies, their own administration. But when it comes to Pakistan, Pakistan is only extending the security to them from India.
Security? Pakistan में है कहाँ पर राजा फैसल साहब? सुशांत सरीन, पाकिस्तान में security है कहाँ? Can Pakistan provide atta? Can it provide electricity that it will provide the security to the people of PoK? Raja Faisal seems to be talking about some yesteryears.
You are living in a country where still...
Navika, you'll have to shut him up because I can't talk over
Go on, Sushant Sari.
So look, here is the thing. You know, the Pakistanis, they come because they've been given talking points coming on Indian television channels and spouting those talking points. So that's what they're doing. But the fact of the matter remains that the kind of restiveness that we see in PoK now, not only in PoK, but also in the northern area part of PoK, which is Gilgit-Baltistan, I've never seen this in the last 30 years. I don't think anybody has seen it in the last 70 years. The kind of restiveness, the kind of protest that we have seen, and we are now seeing for the first time that people are completely disillusioned with the Pakistani state. They don't even want to be part of the Pakistani state anymore. So we are seeing a major political shift taking place, and all these pro-Pakistan army parties that have been propped up out there, like People's Party and Muslim League and all these other Tonga parties that are there in PoK right now, they have literally been left with no following. They might still be in government, but they have no following. They don't have a popular following. So yes, the politics in that entire occupied region seems to be taking a shift, number one. Number two, there are very serious economic difficulties that are there, not just in Pakistan, but also in PoK. And when I talk about PoK, I mean both Gilgit-Baltistan and the POJK parts of the territory. So there are very serious economic difficulties which are emerging out there, and the Pakistani state is simply not in a position to provide any kind of relief to the people. The ministers, of course, Shahbaz Sharif and others, will give themselves 400% salary rises, and they will still be roaming around in their BMWs and these fancy Land Cruisers. But the poor people are being squeezed dry. So that is the reality of Pakistan. Now, the thing is that Raja Faisal, again, like all Pakistanis, completely misinterpret and probably deliberately the UN resolutions. Number one, they don't seem to understand that the UN resolutions are not in the enforceable category. They are more in the recommendatory category. That's the first and most important point. Secondly, there is a certain sequencing to how those resolutions have to be implemented. And the first part is, it was not that both India and Pakistan will take out their army. The Pakistanis were supposed to completely vacate the territories that they had occupied illegally. The Indian army was then supposed to take control of those areas, but keep a certain minimal force required to ensure security in that area. The Pakistanis never took the very first step. And then by around 54, 55, the situation had changed, that these resolutions had become infructuous. Now, Pakistanis can keep beating that dead horse or that dead donkey, considering that, donkeys are such a favorite animal in Pakistan these days, but it's not going to come up alive. And finally, Navika, just one last point. What the External Affairs Minister said in the United Kingdom has been a very, very long-held policy of the government of India. Now, the question of the timing of when we will go in for taking back PoK, whether it will be done through military means, diplomatic means, political means, overt means, covert means, that is for the government of the day to decide. And the timing is for them to decide.
Absolutely.
It's not for us to decide in television studios. But the commitment of the Indian nation is that these areas will come back to India one fine day.
Absolutely, and the timing will be decided. But the question tonight is not on the timing. The question is on the surreptitious manner in which these questions are planted, and the manner in which Pakistan still thinks. Well, senior journalists asked that question. Maybe it's also because, he's in a time warp. But the manner in which the question was asked, tongue-in-cheek, कि भाई Trump से मदद ले लोगे. I want to ask Faraz Saeed, isn't it time for Pakistan to introspect on why people in PoK want Azadi from Pakistan? Isn't it time for Pakistan to introspect about its domestic issues, its problem of bankruptcy, its problem of a complete political meltdown, its problems that are known globally, extremely embarrassing, and extremely embarrassing in the manner in which people on the streets in Pakistan talk about the state of affairs, on the manner in which Pakistan is being run. In the middle of this, to talk about PoK and to try and finger India, do you think it's really time for a reality check, Faraz Saeed?
Thank you, Sneha, for giving me time. First of all, I would like to clarify a few things. The questions and the answer from Jaishankar is being blown out of proportion. I mean, the question wasn't as high profile. I mean, the characterization of question should not be taken as a credible one. It should not be given such an airtime, because again, it was a very miscalculated, mischaracterized question posed to Jaishankar. And then Jaishankar, of course, is the External Affairs Minister of India. Of course, he has to give that tired trope answer. I mean, that's the business as usual. We are blowing it out of proportion, both in India and Pakistan. The media is doing the same thing. As far as the Azadi chants are concerned, I mean, I've always talked about it. Even the government of Pakistan says, how this is anti-state rhetoric. The same Azadi chants were highlighted back from Jawaharlal Nehru University in 2016, 2019, where Indians are also, not happy with these Azadi slogans. So if the youth of today are raising those Azadi slogans, it is not against the state. It is about their rights, about whatever they want from the state, and it's not against the state. We have to make it very clear, because we're not living in pre-colonial era. We're living in a post-colonial era where nation states are a reality. And if there is a certain
yes, of course it is post-colonial era, but Pakistan needs to get a reality check on which era it is living in, because right now the era that Pakistan seems to be living in is an era of complete chaos. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, what I find refreshing in Mr. Faraz Saeed's statement is, at least he says we should not give too much importance. मतलब Pakistani journalist की कितनी credibility है? Back home in Pakistan, उन्होंने at least he's displayed that. So, I find that refreshing. Just as I find that Kamar Chima ran away after the first question was asked, and he unwittingly actually complimented Dr. Jaishankar. So he's run away from the debate, but that's Pakistan for you. मैदाने जंग से भाग जाओ. But Abhijit Iyer Mitra, please respond to the points made by Faraz Saeed.
So actually, I want to get a bit into the main topic, which is all these Pakistani journalists. I've been to several conferences in Washington, having worked there. There are these chutku journalists, usually from Pakistani Punjab, who can't even say measure and pleasure. They're the types who will say it gives me pleasure and great mayar to make your acquaintance.
That's rude, Abhijit, because I'm also from Punjab, and many of my senior generations and Sushant Sareen will bear me out. Oh, player, mayor in your layer is part of Punjab, even in India. So let's get on to the real question.
But these people, they get paid by the Pakistan government. Now, I don't know who is paying them, ISI or army or the local embassy out there. But I've seen this in Europe. I've seen this in America. At every conference, these Johnnies, these Mayer player Johnnies turn up. And they go about asking the weirdest questions. It doesn't matter if the question has been asked. They have to show haziri. So what happens is, even if you've asked, Navika, why are you wearing a bindi? 3 more people will come and ask, why are you wearing a bindi? As if they've not heard the answer before. So, this is a pattern that they employ. They believe it allows their local TV channels and newspapers to then run the narrative that Kashmir is alive, or whatever the issue of the day is, nuclear issues or whatever is alive at that particular point of time. And they will plaster their newspapers with this. This is an internal reassurance measure. They are so desperate for validation, because all the shibboleths of their state have collapsed around them. In the 60s, Pakistan was seen as a success story, India was seen as a failure. Today, all of that has come crashing down around them. So they need this external validation, because nobody is taking them seriously anymore on the international stage. They are literally, this is what you are seeing, Navika, is essentially what you go to a psychiatrist, a shrink for. Self-validation, the shrink, you have to divorce your husband, but the shrink has to tell you, why are you stuck in this relationship? You have to get a divorce. Please take my advice in great mayer and player and go through with the divorce, etc., etc. So, we should really ignore this. Mr. Kamar Chima was absolutely right. Mr. Faraz Saeed is absolutely right. We shouldn't take these people seriously. These are for internal reinforcement within Pakistan.
Absolutely. It's time, I think, for the divorce between PoK and Pakistan, whatever remains of the relations between them. But thank you very much, Omar Altaf, senior journalist, for joining us on the Newshour here. But Sushil Pandit, I want to come to you. Kashmir, the real Kashmir that we are seeing today, Pakistan tried to infest it with all kinds of techniques over the last 76, 75 years. Today, what we are seeing, the rebuilding of Kashmir, clearly shows that it's taken time, but when the resolve exists in the government, Kashmir is moving towards where it should be, and PoK is absolutely next on the agenda. Is it a reality that Pakistan somehow is trying to bury under the carpet by looking for validation as Abhijit put out, because the validation is not what really happened in London. What really happened was pricking off this balloon by Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's foreign minister. Do you think it's time the message hits right home? And if Pakistan knows what's good for it, just very, very ably, just courteously walks out of PoK?
Well, I don't think that's going to happen in a hurry. Pakistan is not going to willingly vacate PoK. As far as the conversation on Kashmir goes, India and Pakistan are on two different planets altogether. Pakistan's claim on Kashmir is primarily based on Islam. The majority population of Jammu and Kashmir being Muslim seems to be the only reason why Pakistan claims this part of geography. And our claims in terms of putting in democracy there, investing in the economy there, conducting elections there, making the whole state develop, create a future for it, is not part of the matrix as far as Pakistan is concerned. Purely the demography, the population, Islam, Muslim, because Pakistan is an Islamization project, eastward expansion of Islam. And so long as we ignore it, we keep addressing democracy, economy, prosperity, future, jobs, infrastructure, we would not address the jihad argument. And this jihad needs to be smashed wherever it raises its ugly head, right now in Kashmir, because Kashmir is a low-hanging fruit and Pakistan's investment in Kashmir is only in terms of jihad, in terms of AK-47s, rocket launchers, jihadis, and jihadi tanzeems like Jaish, like Lashkar, like Hizbul, and the United Jihad Council operating from Muzaffarabad. So Pakistan is not going to walk away from this jihad project right from 1947 onwards, when army of Pakistan masquerading as tribals invaded Kashmir, and then again in 1965, again in 1971, again in Kargil. The recurring theme is that Kashmir is their jugular vein because it's a Muslim majority province.
Exactly why, Sushil Pandit, when they cannot manage the rest of Pakistan, and Omar Altaf, I want to ask you, is it time for you to respectfully hand back PoK? Because Dr. Jaishankar has said it, Prime Minister Modi has said it, the government is very clear, it's going to take PoK back sooner than later, and the time will be decided by the government. Should Pakistan, as a neighbor, just do it respectfully?
I think who's stopping you from taking over? What's the hindrance?
Acha, what's the hindrance?
You can test your resolve, like you can see, or talking is very cheap, Navika.
Oh yeah?
Yes,
and what Pakistan does is not cheap? No, what it's been doing for the last 75 years is not cheap, Omar Altaf?
You try and test a resolve, and then you will probably get a bloody nose. Ask Abhinandan.
Surgical strikes, Balakot, everything has tested your resolve. Osama bin Laden आपके backyard में मिला था. आप क्या बोल रहे हैं?
So let's see na. So you can. What's stopping you?
Don't worry, sir. आपको birthday gift मिलेगी. PoK लेके आपको personally birthday gift मिलेगी. Don't worry. You worry about the donkeys in your state.
Your balloon would be burst.
Like the
just like the balloon of the journalist today was burst in London.
Just like Abhinandan's toy was smashed. Something along those lines would happen again. You try and see.
तो फिर डर के मारे वापस कर दिया था ना अभिनंदन के भूल गए आप.
He was given a bloody nose and his clothes were torn. He was beaten blue by the villagers.
Abhijit Iyer Mitra.
Wing Commander Shahzad
This is the kind of Pakistani bravado that gets them nowhere. You asked him a question, what they did was cheap. No, they bankrupted their own country with their bravado like this. This is the display that we've just seen in the last 2 minutes is exactly what we want more of. We want them to get into this thing that they can bloody Abhinandan's nose. We want more and more and more of this. In the end, they're going to get a leader like Gorbachev who comes to Delhi and signs off his entire empire to us when it crumbles. That is what we're waiting for. We won't spend a single human life on wasteful things like this. These guys have such great delusions. Operation Gibraltar, Operation this, Operation that. We will just wait in Delhi. We can wait for them to come. We will wait for their empire to come.
Raja Faisal, you heard what Omar Altaf said.
Bigots who believe that they are everything and rest of all they're nothing. Who believe they are the racist people.
Who?
You are having racist people on your side.
We have racist people. And Omar Altaf is the paragon of virtue that you have on display.
Navika, let me enlighten somebody who was just talking about whatever happened in Resolution 47 and what it required. I think he needs to go through books again. He needs to enlighten himself on whatever General Norton he's been suggesting, and then whatever Dixon was suggesting. He needs to go through that. He doesn't know.
The intellect is similar to the donkeys sold by Pakistan to China. You know, I'm telling you.
That's the high-tech exports. Yes. Sushant Sareen, Raja Faisal thinks that we need to study more about the situation. He's the more knowledgeable one. Sushant Sareen, be my guest to burst his balloon this time.
The Navika, people like Raja Faisal, I normally don't even indulge in a conversation with them. I don't think it's worth it. But just because I'm on your program, so just to educate him, you know, rather than reading silly books written by people whom the Pakistan Army or the ISI have been paying to write books, it is better to read the original text of the resolutions rather than, you know, going here and there and talking to somebody has written some book, somebody floated this formula. There have been over 40 formulas that have been floated on Kashmir. They have no meaning. So I can float a formula today, you can float one tomorrow. It has absolutely no meaning. The meaning was, for example, there was a resolution passed. Under what chapter was it passed? It was passed under the chapter 6 of the UN charter, right? Chapter 6 is only recommendatory. It is not a mandatory. The resolutions passed are not necessarily enforceable. The enforceable resolutions are under chapter 7. For point number 1. Point number 2, there is a certain sequencing to which even the resolutions were to be implemented. The sequencing has never been adopted by the Pakistanis. They bawled over the sequencing. Now this guy, he'll keep barking unnecessarily because, you know, now his balloon is being punctured because many of them in any case they are uneducated. And like my friend Abhijit Iyer Mitra says, you know, apart from Mayyar, Trayer, Player, Layer, they've not gotten over that. So that's what their level of intellect is. I don't see what purpose is served by
Forget reading the charter of the UN and the resolution therein. Kamar, Omar Altaf, मेरे को तो आप इतना बता दो कि आपके यहाँ अगर आम, you know, when you go on YouTube and you look at Pakistani shows, people are cursing their own government. People are cursing in Pakistan their own setup. They say that there are more craters on the roads of Pakistan than there are on the moon. आटा दाल तो मिलता नहीं वहाँ लोगों को. वहाँ लोगों को बिजली पानी तो मिलता नहीं. आप बात कर रहे हैं PoK की और you are daring India. Omar Altaf, do you think, once again, with great respect, I ask you, do you think you need a reality check?
No, I think it's you who need a reality check. I think that what Chinese are doing to your forces and the way they smashed them and took your land, I think you should worry about that as well.
My dear friend, you are exactly behaving like the donkeys behave in Pakistan. And
you need to just shut up.
I have no respect for them. And Pakistan should be called as Donkistan.
No shame.
अरे अपने घर से बाहर निकल के देखो, ये आटा लेने के लिए तुम्हारे लोग जो है ना, वो एक मोटरसाइकिल के पीछे रो रहे हैं, दंगे हो रहे हैं आपके मुल्क के अंदर आटे के लिए. बिजली नहीं है, आटा नहीं है. घर के बाहर निकलो, पता चले शो के बाद खुद को आटा ना मिले. This is the truth of Pakistan.
Have you been also
exported to Pakistan? Number one,
Sushil,
should be called the
Sushil Pandit wants to come in. Sushil Pandit.
I think
who needs a reality check here?
Right in your
You
studio.
see, somebody needs to remind these people who claim to have more knowledge on Kashmir. Kofi Annan said that those resolutions are redundant. In 1971, when India signed a deal with and Shimla agreement with Pakistan, all other multilateral forums were rendered infructuous. From that point onwards, Kashmir was an issue between India and Pakistan.
Attention, Raja Faisal Sahab.
Statement. You are not bringing in another resolution. Get it passed first and then talk about it. You just bring it in.
I think you have a branch of the United Nations in Pakistan. Jera tusi chalande ho. Jera tusi chalande ho aap baith kar.
Doesn't mean it's a resolution. It's a new resolution.
Well, Raja Faisal, the time has come for Pakistan to really wake up, smell the coffee or whatever it is that wakes them up, and also instead of planting old journalists in press conferences with Indian ministers to try and trip them, well, realize that it is your roads in Pakistan that have the craters. You trip over them because India's resolve is very, very clear. India is on the cusp of taking back PoK one way or another. Timing will be decided by India itself. Pakistan, the best you can do is eat your heart out. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on debate number 1.